and today's day in the life is going to be come along with me as I shoot a cake smash session. I'm really excited about this. I love doing cake smash sessions. However, I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about sort of a burnout period that I went through with cake smash sessions, where I just was kind of disenchanted with them, didn't really want to do them anymore, why I felt that way, and how I remedied it. Because with any kind of photography we shoot, and with photography in general, but especially with different types, you can go through phases where you love that type, then you don't love it, you want to shoot a ton of it, then you don't want to shoot any of it at all. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to overcome that and make sure that you feel happy to be shooting what you're shooting, and you can continue to keep your business thriving. So first thing I'm going to do today is take you with me while I set up for today's cake smash. It's going to be a winter wonderland theme, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I set up for cake smashes and everything that goes into sort of the planning and preparation behind cake smashes. So let's get started. Okay, so I start by setting up the backdrop first. This is the backdrop I'll be using today. It's super cute. It's like a little girly gingerbread house with candy all around it. This is a fleece backdrop from Kate Backdrop. Now, in the past, I've been hesitant to recommend Kate Backdrop. I still actually kind of am. I do find that their quality has improved over the 5 years that I've been doing this. I had a lot of quality control issues with them in the very beginning when I first started out and was trying to use their products. I still am hesitant to recommend them because there have been a lot of things that have come out about them stealing designs from other designers and stealing people's work and reprinting it into their own discount backdrops. And I obviously don't want to support that. So you'll have to do your own research on that and decide how you feel. I did give it a go for this design because this is a design that one of my clients had found and really wanted this specific one and was quite affordable. I had a coupon, I believe, and I think my cost with the coupon was about $30, and this is about, I think it's like a 50 by 60 backdrop. I'll double check the size. So this size is good for cake smashes. However, if you're not somebody who wants to be filling in any kind of the background at all, especially on a patterned backdrop like this, and you like to shoot some pullbacks, then I would recommend going up one size to the 60 by 80, especially if you're purchasing it from somewhere that's more affordable like Kate Backdrop. I am a huge fan of Baby Dream backdrops and fancy fabric drops, so I highly recommend those for fleece drops as well. They're just a little bit more pricey, but again, if it's a design that you know you can use for many sessions to come, then you're going to get some of your money back. Also, the way that I price my cake smash session, if a mom comes to me with a set design, a theme that I don't have the backdrop for and wants a themed backdrop like this and I don't have it, I offer that as an add-on, and it's a $150 add-on, which covers my cost of the backdrop even at the fancier places like that, and I know that I'm going to be able to use it moving forward. If I can find it at a more discounted place like this and it's only $30, then I'll just go ahead and reduce that add-on price, make it like $50, and so it's not as unreasonable for mom. I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes on that one, or honestly make a gigantic profit off of the add-on. I want them to have the theme they want, and I also just want to make sure that I'm still profitable, and that it's something that I'm able to use moving forward. Or if it's not and it's super specific and I don't think I'm going to be able to use it very much, I want to make sure that that cost is definitely covered there so that I'm not losing out on my profitability. Okay, I'm going to show you how I finish setting up, but before I do, I just want to talk a little bit about set design since we're on the topic of backdrops. I basically do two types of cake smashes: very simple designs, which are usually just on a solid color seamless or on wooden floor drop and backdrop with a cake stand and basically maybe a banner behind them if parents bring a banner. I had one mom that wanted a baseball theme, so we did a wooden backdrop and floor drop. She brought a baseball banner and she brought a glove and ball and a baseball cap and an outfit for the baby. That was it. I don't typically provide a ton of themed props, and even if and then the second type of set that I offer, I should say, is a type with a backdrop like this that sort of looks like it already includes some props in it. And if that's the case, I mostly use those, and I might use a couple of transitional pieces to help blend the backdrop into the floor drop, but I definitely don't provide a ton of themed props, and that helps to keep my cost down when it comes to set design. Okay, so let's talk for a minute about pricing cake smash sessions, and I'm gonna mention to you a little bit about my burnout phase while I talk about this. So the way that I price cake smash sessions is similarly to how I price my 30 and 60-minute family session. So the pricing similar. 30-minute cake smash session, similar price to a 30-minute family session, and 60-minute cake smash session, again, similar to how I price a 60-minute family session. However, I always priced it like that, other than like maybe my first 6 months in business, I like literally had a different price for every single different type of session, and it was just like way too many prices, and I literally didn't even know how much any of my sessions cost because I couldn't memorize it all. So, but for the majority of my business, this is how I've priced cake smashes. Now, the issue is I went through a time where I did a ton of cake smashes, and I realized they're a lot of work. They are just so much cleanup. So at some point I realized in order to make it feel to myself like I was being compensated for the extra maybe like 30 to 40 minutes of cleanup that I was doing after the fact, washing the cake trays and whatnot, washing the floor. The floor top is literally the worst, and depending on the kind of frosting, it's very difficult to get off. I needed to make sure that I felt compensated for that time in addition to the time that I was putting into the actual session. So what I decided to do was I stopped offering 30-minute cake smash sessions at all. I will do a 30-minute 12-month birthday milestone, and it's just portraits on the backdrop with no cake. But if they want a cake smash session, I have one option, and it's called the Luxe Smash and Splash package. It's priced similarly to my 1-hour family session, which is about $5.99 right now. And it includes a half-hour. I got cut off here, but I was going to say for the cake smash. About 10 to 15 minutes at the very start of the session for regular milestone portraits in a cute outfit on the backdrop, but no cake before the baby even gets messy. And then the remaining time at the tail end of the session for a mini tub splash, and that's usually about 15-20 minutes depending on how much time we spent on milestone pictures at the beginning. The reason I did this is because my favorite part of the session is the splash. I think it's super cute and unique and very fun, and the cleanup for that honestly isn't bad. There are some babies that splash a lot and get water everywhere, but I always make sure I have a few towels ready. I put them right around the outside of the floor, so they're out of the shot, but they're available right there. And if baby does a really big splash, I just swoop the towels in so it soaks up the water quick, swoop them back out. So that's honestly my favorite part. I don't want people to not do the splash because I enjoy the splash. It doesn't really take that much extra effort, and it's something I enjoy. So I don't factor that in as being as much work. The way I see it is that that extra half hour's worth of pay kind of helps to cover my cleanup time after the client leaves. And the client's not seeing it that way. They're still seeing it as that extra cost that they have is getting them extra photos, it's getting them an extra component to the session, which is the splash portion of the session. But for me, I know the splash isn't really that much extra work for me, and I enjoy it. So I see that extra money as compensating me for the cleanup time after the fact, if that makes sense. And that helped me overcome some of that burnout. So be very specific about how you price different types of sessions. If there's a type of session that you really don't enjoy doing because it's a lot of extra effort for you, price it higher, but also try to find a way to add in a little bit more value for the client. Okay, last thing I want to talk about when it comes to pricing really quickly is an age-old question we get about cake smashes, which is, do you include the cake or do you not include the cake in your package? In the beginning, when I first started shooting cake smashes, I did include the cake. Well, I didn't include it in the pricing, but I did offer to supply the cake. I linked up with a local baker. I got a deal for a slightly reduced price on the cake, and then I offered it for a little bit more than what I was paying as an add-on to the package. And in exchange, I had to do all the communication with the baker in the design of the cake, and then I had to go drive to the baker's house, pick the cake up, and have it ready here for the session. In addition to that, there's a huge liability that comes with supplying food when it comes to allergies and that type of thing. And the more knowledgeable I became about my business and insuring my business, the more I realized that that liability just wasn't worth it to me when it came to providing a food for infants who may not have been exposed to all of the ingredients and may have unknown allergies. It just wasn't worth it for me to be the one providing it. So I feel a lot safer having parents provide it. And honestly, it's just a lot easier, and it takes one of the tedious steps out for me, which makes me enjoy cake smashes more. So I do just recommend a certain size of cake and certain colors of frosting that I don't allow in my studio. I try to avoid red and blue because they stain terribly, and it's really hard to get them cleaned off of my props and off of my floor drop. Other than that, the parents get the cake wherever they want and they bring it with them to the session. Okay, last thing, since we're on safety, your business should be insured one way or another. Anything could happen when you're out shooting with your clients. Betsy did a really great live one time talking about how her clients were attacked by a dog while they were out in a park and she was doing a session with them. And even though that is seemingly not her fault, they could bring a suit against her. So it is important to insure your business for a lot of different reasons. And when it comes to cake smashes, anytime you have little babies eating something, there's always a choking risk. Of course, we talked about an allergy risk, although I'm not supplying the food. It's just smart to be insured. So make sure that you do have liability insurance for your business, regardless of the type of session that you're shooting. All right, next I'm gonna show you how I go ahead and finish setting up for my session.
It's about time.
Questions. So if you are using a backdrop that has snow printed into it, the best thing to transition it to the floor drop is also snow. I use polyfill fiber fill, which goes into like pillows and stuffed animals, and this is what it looks like. The floor drop that I'm using for this session is shower board. It's this glossy white board that you can purchase at home improvement stores. It gets you that really glassy finish, and it is pretty easy to wipe off. That being said, this one's a few years old, and if you look close, you'll notice it does have some grease stains on it from different frostings, as well as a scuff mark over here. Some of those you won't see once the flash goes off in the actual photos. Some of them I just quickly heal out, but it does get damaged, with a lot of use, but I've had mine for several years. The other thing that I have set up when parents come is a few outfit options that coordinate with the backdrop. So these are the 3 that I picked out. I also do have a rack of clothing that parents can look at that has some like pink options on it. I try to keep the basket of actual clothes that I have though put away and just have a few options out like this for parents to choose from. I take out the tub for the splash, and then I usually will take out a prop or 2 just based on if it's a dark set or a light set. So this is a little bed I use for newborns, but for sitters, I turn it sideways and have them sit on it like a bench. And then same thing for cake stands. I'll take out 1 or 2 that I think match the set for mom and dad to choose from. If for some reason they hate all of the options that I picked for the prop, for the beginning portion, or for the cake stand, I do have other options put away in the closet, but I find if you give them too many options, then it gets a little tedious having them choose. You could also send options out ahead of time in a style guide or on a questionnaire and have them choose, but I find it easiest to just have them choose when they actually get here. Okay, last thing I have set up is some paper towels and some cleaner. That's just to clean down the floor drop in between the cake smash and the splash. When baby's done smashing, I'll hand them off to parents. I'll have the parents wipe them down with baby wipes. I do have some if they need them, or they can use their own. Some parents are picky about the brand on their baby's skin. In the meantime, I will go ahead and wipe down the floor drop. It doesn't have to be perfectly like unsticky, but just so there's no visible crumbs. And then I'll go ahead and set up the tub for the splash, and we'll do that portion. Last question I know I'm going to get is about how I hang the backdrop up. There's a few different ways you can do this with fleece backdrops. You can use bungee clamps if you're using a stand. You can also use like a magnet wall. A lot of people will install sheet metal onto the wall so that they can use magnets to go ahead and hang up the fleece drops. That's a really smart idea I might do in the future. You can hang them with regular clamps from a backdrop stand. It's just hard to get all the wrinkles out that way. And if you're using a different type of drop, like if you're using a poly paper drop, you can hang that from a backdrop stand with clamps, or you can also tape it to the wall. Because this is my home studio and I own it, I actually nail these into the wall, which is a tip that another photographer gave me early on, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so I just tack it to the wall with these teeny tiny little nails. I do try to keep them in clusters in similar spots, but you'll see one right here from a time that I did it before that's still in the wall. It's not really a big deal. I don't do anything else with this wall, so it's okay if it has some nail holes in it. And I'll show you over here. This is a different backdrop that I had up before I took that one down. So I'll just show you the tack nail again, and it just goes right through the backdrop. And in case you're concerned about reselling the backdrops, the hole is very, very small. So that's where the hole is. I obviously would disclose it if I resold the backdrop that it does have them, but they're also in the pole pocket portion here. So it's not even damage in the actual drop itself. It's like in the border where the pole would go through anyway, and it's not hindering your ability to put a pole through it. So that's what I use. They're little tack nails like this, and you can buy them at the home improvement store. I'm shooting these today with my 24-70 lens. Sometimes I'll also shoot with my 35mm prime lens for these studio sessions. So part of it's a personal preference, but I would recommend a slightly wide lens, either prime or zoom. That way you can get most of the backdrop in as well. Okay, I have my one strobe with 65-inch PLM set up at a 45-degree angle to my backdrop. I'm going to just pick up my polyfill and stuff and get it out of the way, and baby's going to be joining me soon, and I'll add some behind the scenes footage. Okay, so I just finished up my session. I just wanted to update you guys on how it went because even 5 years into this, babies don't always do what you want them to do. This little girl cried through a lot of her session. She was just in a clingy phase with mom and didn't want to be put down and be on set to actually do the cake smash. She was a lot happier with the cake in front of her though, and with the splash, than she was for the initial milestone portraits. So if the baby's crying, don't worry, keep going. Have mom pick them up periodically and comfort them. Try little treats like little cookies or snacks. Try their favorite song on mom's phone behind you. Try to get something to distract them, but the cake might help. That being said, I do want to state that about like 80% of babies that I do this with, that I have done this with over the last 5 years, are not interested in eating the cake. They do like playing in it, but a lot of them won't eat it. So here's my tip for getting the perfect cake smash shot. I like to go through a 3-step process to see if I can get that perfect smashed cake shot around the baby. Step 1 is put the cake in front of the baby and just let them explore, see what they do. I'm going to tell you most of the time they don't do much. They sort of poke at it, maybe take a little lick of the frosting, and most of them are like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care about this. The second step is to go ahead and have mom or dad take a little piece off of the cake and hand it to the baby. Some babies just don't realize that they can actually tear the cake apart and that they can eat it. So if you put a piece in their hand and put a little bit of frosting on their tongue, they realize that it's food, and some of them will dig into it. The third step, if all else fails, and I get to this step a lot, is to have mom or dad take some of the cake and crumble it around the baby so you can get that iconic cake smash shot. The reason I don't do it is so my hands aren't covered in frosting when I'm trying to shoot, and mom or dad can just go wash their hands quickly if they need to, or use some baby wipes. I'm going to show you my final gallery. Just scroll through it quick so you can see what I got from the milestone portion, cake smash portion, and splash portion. I did also do a couple of sibling shots at the very beginning of this session with her 3 older siblings. I chose not to charge extra for that because it was literally just a couple of shots. It took me 5 minutes, and then the siblings actually left the studio and went and sat in the car for the remainder of the time, so they weren't in my way. But if they were going to be here for longer or be involved in the entirety of the shoot or be hanging out here the whole time, I probably would have added a little bit of cost for having all of those extra children participating the entire time in the session. I also want to mention during this that if parents really don't want to do the splash and opt out of that part, I won't reduce the cost of the session or the length of time, so I encourage them to use that extra 15 or 20 minutes for either nursing milestone photos or a couple of family photos during their child session. I hope you found this day in the life to be helpful as you came along with me shooting a Cake Smash milestone session. I have to say, these are adorable. They're some of my favorites now that I have worked out my pricing and my structuring to make myself feel compensated for the extra mess, and kind of gotten my workflow down a little better about how I'm going to actually go ahead and clean that mess and what restrictions I have on certain types of frosting and that type of thing. Let me know if you have any other questions. You can post them in the CC Pro group, and I'll see you around for another day in life. Bye!